All right, what we're going to do now is look at something called a precomp. And a precomp is a way of taking a bunch of animation that you've created and sandwiching it in such a way that you can reference it in another composition. So the cool thing about precomps is that you can create a precomp and reuse it over and over and over again. And you can even sandwich precomps inside of precomps. So you can get pretty meta. But we're just going to do one. This exercise builds on the last exercise with the TrackMan. So what we did was we created this animation of the text flying up from the line here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to put this into another project. We're going to open up a piece of video. Let's go to File, Import, File, and we're going to grab this DG hoverboard _007.mp4 file and open it. And we're going to start a new comp with it by clicking on it and dragging it down to the Make New Comp button. So that jumps us into another comp. So you can have dozens of these comps down here. Here's our comp 1, and here's the comp named DG hoverboard 007. So now I'm going to go back, and what I want to do, I could select all these tracks, control click, and I'm going to unlock the track map. I could select all these tracks and copy and paste them into the other animation. But the problem is that if I wanted to animate them, or if I wanted to modify them, I'd have to do each one of those separately. If I wanted to resize it, I'd have to do each one of those separately. So there's a quicker, better way. With the 3 layers selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to use a command called precompose. And so it says new composition name. I'll just call this precomp 1 and click OK. I want to move all attributes into new composition, click OK. And you'll see up here that it's been called precomp 1, and you'll see that it's a separate composition up here. Now if I go to DG hoverboard and I grab that precomp 1 and drag it down on top of the animation, I have this. So now the cool thing is that I'm not done. I can click on that top layer and I can resize it. Hold on the Shift key. I can position it somewhere else on the screen. And I can even change what it says. So I have to go back to the original comp 1, double click and open that. And the original is called precomp 1. And then if I go down to the text layer, let's work with the text here. And I'm going to go down and work where I can see the text, grab my type tool, drag over the text, and change what it says. Okay, so now if I go back to the other piece of art, it's been changed. And that's a really good example of how a precomp can be used and why we make precomps. And the cool thing is that once I create something like this, I can use it over and over again. So you can see how I can open it up, make another piece of art, and change what it says. So let's say I'm doing a video with chapters or something like that, where I want each chapter to have this similarity. I can use this one precomp or make a series of precomps that are based off the original one and just change that one element. Now the other cool thing is that now that I've gotten this in here, I can do other things with it. So if I right click and I choose layer styles and I say, for instance, drop shadow, you'll see that I've added a drop shadow and it's to all the art in here at the same time. Instead of doing it one frame at a time, so I can go in and I can modify the drop shadow and so on. And so that is a very good example of how and why you may end up, in many circumstances when you're doing your projects, resort to a labor-saving device and an organizational tool and a very powerful way to take a bunch of created animations, sandwich them together so that I can drop them into another composition. And that's called a precomp.